I don't know much about this player, but we can talk a little bit about the ship. This is Ranked Battles at Tier 8. Bayard at Tier 8 is a pretty fun French cruiser, light cruiser. It's got the 152, I believe, millimeter guns. Pretty good fast firing. The big thing about them is at Tier 8, Wargaming started giving these ships 1/5 HE pen instead of 1/6. Bayard was the first ship they used to test that. And so with IFHE, I believe that allows them to pen 32 millimeters armor. We'll double check that in a minute in the build viewer. The other thing about the Bayard, she's got engine boost, and she's also got main battery reload booster, so she can pump out an awful lot of shells. Common pastime, one of my favorite pastimes in this ship is you set a ship on fire, and then you wait for them to DCP. Once they DCP, you'll light them on fire again because you hit your main battery reload booster, just keep them, blazing. The other thing you can do with the Bayard is you can play up close and personal with your friendly destroyer and work together to take out the enemy destroyer before that destroyer manages to get away, take out your destroyer, etc., etc. So there's two different ways you can play the Bayard, really. One is up close in your face, killing destroyers. The other one is more of a farmy, long-range thing, as Zeka says. Bayard does love prop rotation. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the build viewer then. And we don't know much about the ship captain, so we'll assume it's a regular. We could talk about the characteristics of the other ones in a moment. But taking a look at penetration, the 152's standard penetrate 30 millimeters of armor. Now, he's not using IFHE. Let me just switch over to IFHE for a sec so you can see the difference. Now they penetrate 37. 32 millimeter is a very important threshold because most battleships at Tier 8 and up, they're either very thickly armored, in other words, more than 32 millimeter, or they're armed at about 32. So basically French, British, and I'm trying to think of another one. They have 32 millimeter armor all around. So if you've got IFHE, you will always penetrate, always do that 1/3 damage instead of shell shattering. So to IFHE or not to IFHE really comes down to what's your target. If you're running IFHE, your target is battleships. If you're not running IFHE, then your target is going to be destroyers. Now, I saw he had radio location, so we know his goal is destroyers. He's playing the up close and personal game. All right, let's take a look at the build. So we've got main armaments mod 1, damage control system mod 1, aiming systems mod 1, propulsion mod 1, and concealment. Okay. First thing I'd say, I don't know why you're using damage control. You're far better off using engine room. You want to keep your engines up and running as much as possible, and your rudder. Bayard depends on being fast and maneuverable to dodge shells, especially at close range, but even at long range too. An alternative to engine room is your engine boost modification. This allows you to keep your engine boost running for a very long time, which is nice. It allows you to basically relocate to the other side of the map much quicker. So that comes in very handy. Also, speed juking shells at long range, and this comes in handy. If you're playing up close and personal more, you could also opt for hydroacoustic search too to get closer. Zeka says something else to consider when deciding on IFHE. How much do you expect to be hitting deck armor? Well, and that's the thing about IFHE. You have to look at the armor profile of who you're shooting and make a determination. I always tell people, if you're debating between IFHE or not, look at a target that you are shooting at. If you're not getting about half of shell hits penetrating or more, then IFHE would probably help you. Probably. But yeah, you have to take into account armor pen and where you're hitting the target. If you're constantly hitting the superstructure of a battleship, IFHE doesn't matter anyway because superstructure is below 32. So you're not going to gain anything out of that. IFHE is for people that know to shoot bow and stern of pretty much all battleships, and they know which battleships they can just farm the midsection and upper deck with. Okay, let's get back to the build. The other thing I want to mention is your propulsion module. If you're playing up close and personal, I think you might be better off going with steering gears. This propulsion mod is great for speed juking shells at long range. But if you're doing that, it synergizes well with the propulsion special module over here to keep your engine boost going. Let's take a look at what your maneuverability is. Yeah, 9 seconds, 9.26 seconds. If I'm playing up close and personal, I need that other second, that extra second less of rudder shift time. So I might recommend rudder shift instead. And then finally, also, if you're playing up close and personal, defensive anti-air fire isn't going to help you. Hydroacoustic search will help you. This is far more important because you need to be able to spot torpedoes that are coming in, especially if you're going to sit in a in a destroyer's smoke screen. You need to know what's coming. If you hate aircraft, I understand the idea of using defensive anti-air fire, but a poor man's defensive anti-air is literally just go find another ship to buddy up with and merge your, AA bubbles. So I would definitely be running Hydro here. Captain build. We don't know if it's a special or not, so let's assume it's a standard, and we can talk about the differences of the other commanders. You've got Grease the Gears for turret rotation, Demolition Expert for an extra 1% chance of hitting a fire with your HE shells. Single shell is 14% right now, so I suppose 1 extra percent does help. Let's drop this for a second, and you can see the impact of that change. Also, note that it does help your splash damage against submarines too, so that can come in handy. You've gone from there. You've got Last Stand, which is very good. Incoming fire alert at range. That's good to have. Focus fire training. You really don't like planes, do you? Personally, I wouldn't run focus fire training in ranked, but okay. Extra consumable. Extra consumable is nice, but there's one big consumable that is missing here from this list, and that is the heal. Because there's no repair party, Superintendent isn't as impactful. Matter of fact, I'd rather take Survivability Expert for the extra hit points to help you just stay alive. Adrenaline Rush makes perfect sense. Radio location and concealment is fine. Radio location, like I said, tells me you're going to play more of an aggressive in-your-face, hunt down the destroyer game. So, skills that I might do differently. Personally, I might take priority target instead of incoming fire alert, especially if you're playing up close to targets. I probably wouldn't take focus fire training. I would probably take survivability instead of superintendent. IFHE, again, that's questionable. We've already talked about the pros and cons of that. I'd love to find a way to get top grade gunner in. Why wouldn't you want just a flat 8% boost to your reload? So let's take a look at other captains, and then we'll build out what I would recommend. Now, Honore benefits greatly from Adrenaline Rush and Grease the Gears, so I would assume you're running one of the Honores. This is a premium ship, so you can absolutely throw a special captain on. And then Abanu gives you a boosted survivability expert if you were to go that route. Now, if it's Honore, that could also signal that this is a captain that's being used on a French heavy cruiser, like Tech Tree, and so there's no ability to change commander skills. But let's take a look. I would suggest, here's how I would build my Bayard. I'm going to drop skills that I probably wouldn't run first of all, and then I'm going to go ahead and look at other skills that I could use. You're almost always going to shoot HE in the Bayard. You're rarely going to shoot AP. So you could go with this, go what we call lighthouse build. Now your guns are above 149mm, so your concealment expert is slightly hampered to the point where if you're going to do this, you could choose to drop concealment altogether and then go up here and change to, say, steering gears, and you can go double rudder or something like that. If you're not interested in doing that, you could always go for extra time for hydroacoustic and your engine boost, and quicker reload of those gives you a little bit more utility in the battle. Grease the Gears is fine. Nothing wrong with that. If you wanted both, you can also do something like that. That might be how I'd spec up my Bayard. Signal flags, you've got anti-det, fire reduction, fire chance flags. You've got engine boost and consumables. Just one sec, my wife just popped in and needs to talk to me, so I'm going to go ahead and start the replay, and I will answer her question. So here we go. Let's go.
Boost des moteurs activé.
Okay, apologies for that. Iron Meals, good night, and Blue Falcon, hello. Sorry, I was trying to go through all the discussion of commander skills and stuff. Alright, so... one destroyer. You are indeed playing the up-close and personal gameplay, okay. Yeah, Abanu could work too, Gaelic. Abanu would be better if he's running Survivability Expert, because there's the extra 50 HP per tier. But he's not. Zeton, Catalunya, Key, Bismarck, Charles, Cossack. Cossack is going to be a pain in the butt. Another reason why I'm surprised you turned away here. I would be staying exactly with that Z23. Matter of fact, the nice thing about that is you could run away to cover if needed. Do not open up here. Do not open up here. You opened up here. You are using Abanu. You can see the shell tracers there. I said do not open up, and the reason for that is two. Fold. One, you give away your position. You tell the enemy where you are. Two, you're probably not going to make much happen out of that shot, so what's the point? If it was a destroyer, I might. True, Blue Falcon could use the island, yes. Here, I would start slowing down already, kiting away. Reload booster up because you see the Cossack. I like that decision. Unfortunately, nope, he's still there. You got a fire on the key, so he's burning. You got two fires going already. I like changing to the Charles Martel. This ship is all about getting things on fire. Yeah, it's nice to see the aggressive play, but it felt like you moved out of that play very early. That being said, I mean, hey, there's two battleships over there, and you don't necessarily know if your Z-23 is going to smoke for you, so... Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, just Zeka, but yes, thank you for saying that. This is ranked. That is correct. And looks like it's on the EU server since I see throw. So there's two battleships over here. Enemy Charles Martel got stuck bow in. That's unfortunate for him. That means basically it's a matter of time before he goes down. Yeah, he's doing a nice job of using the islands to stay hidden for the most part. His radio location does tell him that the Cossack is coming around, probably up the 1-2 line, which is good information. It's one of the reasons I always like using radio location. It gives you much more information than you would have had otherwise. However, I feel like you would have been far better suited using Hydro. Here we go. Once again, using the island, coming in behind it. It's nice. Your two battleships are pretty much stuck together. Another fire on the key. He must really love you right now. Now you're still detected, which means, yep, I was going to say, the Cossacks pretty far up. I think those were key torpedoes. Concerned about coming out like this is you're boosting. Well, the way you're going now, you're fine. I was going to say you'd want to be careful not to get into the channel, the torpedo angle of the Cossack onto the Vladivostok, but you're not. Another fire on him. See, so you're speed juking. You were speed juking until you ran the NASA. That's true. Right. If the enemy has radiolocation, you can also use that to triangulate where he is. Right. Matter of fact, you can see the Cossack has moved farther south now. You're trying to warn them of torpedoes. There's the Cossack smoke. He's going to sit in the smoke and shoot. Well, that's great for you if that's the case. It allows you to get it really up close and personal to him. I wouldn't even be shooting at him right here. I suppose you're figuring that nobody else can really shoot at you. One of the nice things about Ranked, it gives you the flexibility to do that. But personally, I would want to try to just keep him in the smoke as long as possible, get as close to him as possible, and then you can blap him. Yeah, it is a good game. Sometimes better hold fire, doing well at that aspect. Kind of funny you mentioned that, because now he's charging in like that and getting spotted. That's okay. You obviously won't always be 100% accurate, but can still get a very good idea of what they're up to if you learn to use their radiolocation against them. Yes, that is true, Zeka. Now this hard turn here is obviously to dodge incoming shells. Also, it gives you a chance to possibly dodge torpedoes if the Cossack is firing them at you. You've been dark for over, you haven't shot for over 20 seconds, so you would be dark, but you're not, so that tells you the Cossack is still within your spotting range. This part here is extremely dangerous. Fortunately, looks like the Bismarck decided to just give up on you. He doesn't care. You gonna go set the key on fire again? I like the torps into the smoke. A lot of destroyer players forget that that's even a possibility. Reload boosting now. I'm curious about that decision. You know that you're guaranteed permafires here? I was just about to say that looks like it's going to be painful. Well, the only reason to push, if he had Hydro available, you could go and push the Cossack and nail him out of the smoke, right? But you're right, otherwise there's no reason. If you look at the battleships on your team, the Massachusetts and Vlad have both stopped and are just sitting there taking punishment. Which means this game's not over yet. Nice attempt to dodge there. The key seems to be getting more dialed in with his angle. Uh, 300-point lead, that is true, but in Ranked, anything can and will happen. There goes the Massachusetts, and momentarily we will see probably the Vladivostok get overwhelmed. When that happens, our guy here will be the only ship on this flank. Z-23 has somehow made it all the way through the map. Wow. So you know that the Cossack is moving up the 1-2 line again. This key is absolutely just going to trash the Vlad. At least that's what I'm predicting. We'll see what happens. Mogami on your team is quite low. He smartly stops to let somebody else get shot at. But he's detected, and the Bismarck actually probably has a shot on him from here. Yeah, he does have a really good sense of when he can shoot for free behind islands versus not. That is absolutely true. Shooting again because you figure the key is probably looking someplace else. But he was ready for you to open up, and here he goes shooting at you. Hey, look, there's a death pick. What do you know? I think you got a little greedy there. Just a little greedy there. The key had your number this whole time. So, opening up like that, especially when you were broadside, while he's turning, and his front turns are kind of looking, turrets are kind of looking your way, unfortunate. You probably expected him to be hard focused on that Vlad, and most Battleship players probably would be. But the way that key just constantly focused you as soon as you got detected, that's probably what took you down. And your Vlad's gonna lose anyways. He's gonna go down. Promoa, that's your film projectionist flex.
Hell yeah.
He probably saved a star if he's gonna lose, but I never like playing to save star. If I lose, I'd rather obviously win and play for that win. But yeah, I mean, you have to play to save your star. You play to save your star, I suppose. Let's get Stream Raiders going off stream. Oh, look, the Mogami died. He did have good minimap awareness, that is true. But like Zaka said, the decision to turn in and move a lot closer, probably not a good idea. I think he's trying to do too many things at once. Play close range support and at the same time long range fire. Exactly, DJ. Anything that can happen in ranked will. So now you're dependent on this Tirpitz, who's been spending, what, the past few minutes in this cap circle, unsuccessfully capping. Z23, who's afraid of a Cossack. This game's going to be a loss. Tirpitz has a really good hit, though, on the Catalunya. If only the Z23 was farther south to support with that. Get that kill on him. And the Tirpitz get the kill. No! And your Z23 is going to C. That prevents all sorts of vision for the team. And allows the enemy team to just hard focus that one spot. Sending him to C is the worst thing I think could have happened. Oh, still miss. Average Tirpitz dispersion, that's right. What? So the Z23 putting the smoke up, all that does is tells the enemy team, hey look, both enemy ships are in C. And the Tirpitz actually derped out of the smoke, so that ain't gonna happen. doesn't. I don't see the secondaries firing, so this must not be a secondary spec Tirpitz. It's also funny. And look, he missed. I would expect the Cossack to go to B cap. Yeah. Or, I was just going to mention, I would expect him to feel like he could outfight that Z-23. And look where he just showed up. That's a GG. Goodbye, Z-23. Tirpitz finally gets the kill on the Catalunya after making his 3rd or 4th circle in the cap. But it doesn't matter. He's basically going to be food for the Key and the Cossack. Had a Napoli game on this map today. Was close. Made a clutch win with 150k damage. 4 kills, 3 CQ close quarters kills, and a double strike. Fun game. Sounds like it. I do like your attempt to help your team and support them and cheer them on. I would like to have seen if you are able to, you know, try communicating earlier, telling the Z-23, hey, I'm with you. Smoke when I ask you to. I'll stay with you. Well, you know, I think that would have really been key early on. If you really wanted to play the Destroyer Blappy game. How many stars you were stolen? See, even he thought he had a win under his belt. It's technically not a loss just yet. We don't have the score timer thing working. Tirpitz won't die to a Key Torque. Tirpitz is going to die to a Cossack Torque. Or a Key Shell. And there it is. Bye-bye. Ouch. It is a painful loss. So, you know, I always say in ranked battles you can't control your teammates. All you can do is control your own play, what kind of things you do to try to work together and that sort of thing. Now, you came in 3rd place. You probably thought you were coming in 1st or 2nd. Mogami did better, and that Tirpitz, for better or worse, handled himself quite well. These two were the only two that were on the eastern flank, mind you. And then there's the Key that smacked you and everybody else coming in 1st place. Okay. There's your Z-23 towards the bottom, and this poor Vlad, who didn't know how to do anything but sit bow in reverse, goes down along with the Massachusetts. Here's the detailed report. Let's take a look at your main battery hits. You fired 483, you hit 141. Let's go back to here for a second. And you had 63 penetrating hits, 79 non-penetrating hits, and 2 ricochets. Ricochets? Did you fire AP at some point? So when I see that, I think to myself, I need IFHE. Most of the game, you were farming battleships, maybe out of necessity. But like I said, I think you're trying to do too many things at once. Pick one playstyle and learn it and do really well with it. You, I could tell, your default maneuvers were more farm-oriented. So then play for a farm-oriented playstyle. Don't worry about everything else. And I realize that probably means you're going to not have as much of an impact into the battle as you might want, but it's clearly what you know to do. So let's take a look at the replay render. Early on, you used your engine boost. So did the 23. You split up so you can get behind the island so you could farm. And I think, again, I realize it's extremely risky. If you want to play that up front in your face, kill the enemy destroyer play, you got to stay with that Z-23. You got to try to communicate with them too and say, I'm going to do this. Can you support? Or, you know, whatever. Can we work together? So that's rough. You're going to play this playstyle. Consider changing up your commander build a little bit. Consider changing up your modules to a more farmy playstyle. Pausing it here because, again, we're highlighting the really good ability you have of turning around, staying behind the islands. I like the luck chuck torpedoes. You never know what you'll catch off guard with those, I think they're 9-kilometer torpedoes. Now, right here, you had an opportunity to not go in. And I think you got baited to go in. That's the Cossack in the smoke that you're starting to turn towards. And again, you either, in my opinion, go straight at him and try to surprise him when the smoke expires. You don't shoot. Or you ignore that smoke. I understand you probably thought, if I don't go after this Cossack, the Massachusetts and Vlad will die. Unfortunately, as John Hammond says, life will find a way anyways. Z-23 wants to go after Catalunya and torpedo a Catalunya that's leaving. That's unfortunate. Now you get stuck bow in. You never want to get stuck bow in a cruiser. You're forced to turn out and chunk. There goes half your hit points. And remember, you do not have a heal. And then the final mistake was thinking that this key was looking at the Vlad and not ready to shoot you. Coming up on it. You opened up. You probably figured that this key was going to turn his turrets around. Actually, my guess is he was starting to turn his turrets left anyway, so that if he failed the drop on the Vlad with the torpedoes, he can get his rear guns on him. So he might have already been turning his turrets to the left. He just quick snopes you. And boom. Bayard did not save his star, Blue Falcon. He came in 3rd place. The Tirpitz saved a star. You can say Ugg Falcon, but our Bayard player wasn't playing to save his star. He was playing to try to win. He was playing to work with a team. It's frustrating that didn't work out that way. But, you know, if he was playing to save a star, he probably could have. He would have been at a much longer range. They would have lost a cap sooner. I honestly think the only way to bring this game back would have been if he would have stayed up close and personal with that Z-23 at the beginning. Very high risk, though. No guarantee it would work. But, yeah. Tough game. But thanks for sending that in. Hopefully I gave you some feedback. That, again, I already cleared out the request, but hopefully that was helpful. 77k is respectable for a squishy cruiser in ranked, correct. The problem in this game is most of those ships were cruisers and battleships. There's only one destroyer. So he wasn't able to get as much XP out of that, because you don't get as much XP per damage against a battleship as you do against a destroyer.